Holy cow. I'm from North Kona, and if it gets below 75 degrees, I'm freezing. I'm currently on the rim of the Halema crater. And it's 64 degrees. I'm cold. I just pre-recorded the little shamanic journey that's going to accompany this introduction video for Shamanic INNERstanding. Here's a little shed. Well, I call it a dugout. My spiritual mentor, Hank, and my ancestor, Halema, used to meet here. They used to call it Halema's office. So, let's see if we can set ourselves up here. I have some notes to talk about this first video. What exactly is Shamanic INNERstanding? Why am I doing this? Why are any of us doing this? Earth is hard. Ooh, my hair's a mess. Hoy. Whew. So the shamanic drumming I just filmed was a little distorted. It was actually my first time ever drumming with my own drum. And I got the drum from a master drum maker here on the Big Island. She made the drum out of a maple wood frame and horsehide from a horse that had passed away of natural causes somewhere on a ranch in the Pacific Northwest. But I think I'm ready. I think I'm ready to talk about it. Talk about what's going on. Shamanic INNERstanding. So I've been guided to host this divine YouTube channel. This is actually the second channel that I've been asked to host, guided to host by the universe. The first channel is actually an egoless channel based on different moments of high vibrational joy or bliss that I felt in my life that I managed to capture. And basically, it's the it's the universe's YouTube channel. I guess it's the YouTube's YouTube channel too, since the YouTube is universe. So it's everybody and nobody's channel all at one time. And that channel is called Wayfinder MIA. So yeah, check that out if you're interested. So I wrote a bunch of notes. Of course, I'm Hawaiian and partly Hawaiian, and we are in Hawaii. So I always want to start by saying aloha, and I want to say aloha to my Haleakala Nation and all the Rainbow Tribe members out there in the world and all the galactic warriors out there in all the cosmos. So I am A.K. Mantis, and we are the host of this Shamanic INNERstanding channel. And we are going to basically be doing a series of guided shamanic journeys throughout the cosmos. And we'll talk about things like esoteric knowledge, occult knowledge, spiritual warfare, and also ascension. That is what actually Wayfinder MIA stands for, Wayfinder, missing in ascension. So it's all about finding yourself while missing in ascension. I don't know, it works somehow. So I'm basically continuing the tradition and all of the work of all the shaman that came before me. Today it is November 17th, 2025. It's a very, very special day for me because I am celebrating 8 years of being spiritually awake. And it's also my Grandma Kathleen's 96th birthday. A little background about myself is I am of mixed Pacific Islander, American Indian, and European lineages. I personally, at this point in my journey, love being of varied bloodlines, but this wasn't always the case. But I've realized after a while that being of varied bloodlines actually is, how do I want to say this? It puts somebody in a stronger position. It has more points of contact. Let's see. I have a few spiritual mentors that played a really big part in my life so far and putting me on the spiritual path of the spiritual warrior and the shamanist. The first one I'm going to give a shout out to is Hank Wesselman. He passed away a few years ago in February here in Hawaii. He was one of my neighbors. He was a very, very accomplished anthropologist and a shamanist, and he continued to search for the origins of humankind throughout his entire life, as well as learned about countless indigenous cultures and tribal peoples, lived amongst them. One of his camp mates back in the Ethiopian Rift Valley was Don Johansson, who would go on to find the Lucy skeleton. So, you know, he was kind of a big deal in the anthropological world. He also wrote some books. You can find his works and his wife's work on sharedwisdom.com if you're interested in a more Western approach to spiritualism and mysticism. He has a lot of great stories and is a wealth of knowledge. And that brings me to his wife, Jill Kuykendall. She was this amazing soul retrievalist. She was a physical therapist for a really long time, and there was an aspect of that job that came to her, and she realized that it was a shamanist job of soul retrieval, of retrieving someone's soul part that gets lost when they're traumatized. And the third mentor that's played a huge part in my evolution as a soul on this planet is Dr. Chieko Maikawa. She is now 89 years old, and she is my acupuncture sensei, and she's from one of the original samurai lineages in Kamakura, Japan. One of the most powerful samurai lineages, and she is definitely the most hands down powerful energy master that I've witnessed on this planet to this day. And I did study Kung Fu for a little bit with a 32nd generational monk from China, from the Sun Temple in China. He's probably the second most powerful energy master I've ever met, face to face. So basically, on this channel, I'm going to draw upon my personal experiences with these masters, as well as my own spiritual guides and my higher self. And I'm going to fulfill my duty as an active shamanist, and I'm going to recreate, refresh, and perpetuate the shamanic tradition. This is basically how the shamanic tradition stays relevant and meaningful and forever vital in our society, no matter what's happening. So basically, I am going to share with you what I've learned through the lens of my AK Mantis ego matrix. And of course, this is a very unique energy signature, but the energy that I'm going to be talking about is an energy that is ancient. It's just that the method of delivery is fresh, fresher. So I wrote down some notes. So let's see. So I guess we should start with the word shaman. The word shaman, it was coined by anthropologists more than 100 years ago, and it describes Siberian tribes members that had a very specific type of spiritual practice, and they held a very specific role and performed very specific duties on behalf of their community members. And since this word shaman is so specific to the Siberian traditions, which Hank went and visited, he liked to call those on this path, this shaman's path, shamanists, sort of like a Buddhist is to the Buddha. So I've also adopted this nomenclature. The archetype of the shaman, it's been underground for a while and or dormant, basically due to the success of the Catholic missionaries on this planet and the inculcation of westernization and the Western mindset. Basically, tribal people had an onslaught of westernization and it took root. However, this ancient archetype of the shaman has been reemerging in westernized people. Isn't that interesting? It was actually my Western lineage that brought me back to the shamanist path of my indigenous lineages. Also very interesting. So this archetype of the shaman cannot be ignored any longer. You should also be wary of a person that labels themselves as a shaman or as a medicine person. A spiritual leader of the shamanic persuasion would never ever call themselves or label themselves a shaman or a medicine person. This is a title given to the practitioner by the community members in which they are in service to. So it is serious spiritual arrogance if someone calls themselves a shaman. A shamanist is a practitioner of the shamanic traditions, but they would never call themselves a shaman or a medicine man, woman, unless no, I can't even think of a good reason why they would do that. That's the term that someone from the community would refer to them by. They would never refer to themselves by that. So just be wary if you're on the path and you're learning and someone has an ad up on YouTube or wherever, social media somewhere that says, I'm a shaman, come join my retreat. My favorite example is there's a person that drives around in a car on the Big Island and their license plate is a vanity license plate that says shaman on it. And I'm like, So yes, just be aware of that. Also know that the shamanic archetype, it cuts across all socio-economic, racial, and cultural lines. So it's basically inherent in the human's divine DNA. People from all walks of life, investment bankers, lawyers, doctors, teachers, all kinds of business people, we all carry this inherent divine DNA and this ability to connect to the divine realms. And so everybody has this ability to shamanize. Some of us are just born with a little clearer line, and that's really what we want to work on in this lifetime. Let's see. It also makes sense that the shamanic archetype is appearing in or taking root in Western peoples today, because Western peoples, they are in a position of power in the world and they can enact change. Oh, another note. All shamanists are medicine people, but all medicine people are not shamanists. And I wanted to read a little something that Hank said. I think he says it better than I could paraphrase it. So Hank says that the medicine person does their work in the physical world. They function as ceremonialists and ritual leaders, and many of them have great knowledge of the healing arts. This includes physical and spirit medicine and plant medicine. They hold physical and the metaphysical balance in their capable hands. Now, the shamanists, they serve as a mediator between their community and the spirits of the other world. So there is the spirits of nature, which Hank dubbed as nature mysticism, or maybe he didn't come up with those terms, but that's the first time I heard it through Hank, and the higher organizing intelligences, and Hank called that deity mysticism. So that leads us to the modern shamanist is basically a cosmonaut. They explore and adventure in the other world. So the other world is the same world or the same dimension or reality that you go into when you're dreaming. It's the dream time of the Aboriginals. It's the world of things unseen. So the world as we experience it, it is separated into two different halves. The world of things seen, and the world of things unseen, right? The 3D physical world and the metaphysical world. Two halves of the same coin, okay? The shamanist bridges these two worlds with their body. They usually bring something back from the other world to the physical world, and or vice versa, from the physical world to the other world. Usually what most shamanists bring back is some kind of information, aka divination. But in the case of a shamanist bringing in something more tangible, like some tangible sort of energy, that's actually what true magic is. So as you journey, the first thing that you're going to realize about the other world is that this world is inhabited. It's inhabited by transpersonal spirits, beings that we call spirits. So that's where you get the nature mysticism, the nature spirits, or the earthbound nature spirits, and the higher organizing intelligences, which is the deity mysticism. I'll share some more stories, my own personal stories, about how I found out this world was inhabited. This other world was inhabited before I actually met Hank, and it wasn't a pleasant experience. So just know that there are things that will come up to your energy field and check you out, like you're interesting. What are you? You know, I get that question all the time. What are you? Who are you? What are you doing here? So we're basically going to spend, I don't know how many videos just discussing these different things. I'm kind of getting the number 26 videos, but we're going to do a deep dive into all the different distinctions and more, basically, in the sessions to come. But for today, I just wanted to focus on how we journey to the other world. So there are many different ways, like as many ways as there are people to transcend the physical realm and go to the other world. But the way that most people do it when they're doing shamanic journey work is with a physical stimulus, either a drum or a rattle. And I'm going to use a drum. I used a drum earlier today with this specific journey in mind, with the intention set. All my guides were set, and I set a sacred, safe space for all of us. So when you listen to that physical stimulus, all those things will be in place for as long as you hear that vibration. For as long as that vibration exists, all those things piggyback onto that frequency. So journey work is a learned skill. We all possess the ability to do it, like I mentioned, but it does take practice. That's why it's called journey work. You know, you do have to practice and work at it to be proficient at it. At this point, I've been doing journey work for 8 years, almost 8 years. And I can slip into trance very, very easily without any physical stimulus. So it's pretty handy at times for divining information. And that's pretty much what channels do when they're channeling information, is that they will go into trance. That's why it's actually very hard to channel information and have it videotaped. My eyes get all wonky and my nose starts running and weird things start happening to my body when I'm channeling. But, you know, it is a skill. You know, you can sit there and still talk through your nose itching or your leg like hurting, whatever it is. Let's see. So basically what the physical stimulus does is that when you beat a drum at 4 to 5 beats per second or faster, it will make both sides of your brain fire nerve impulses at the same rate. And that's called the theta wave function, brain function. Theta means gift from God, just side note. But it's called sonic driving. It basically helps a person's brain to have visionary experiences. So let's see. Whenever I do journey work, what I like to do is I like to be in a quiet spot where I'm not going to be interrupted. I like to always listen to the drum or the rattle or whatever it is with headphones on. And I usually say a prayer, light a candle, call in my guides. If you don't have any guides, that's okay. I always ask for my vibrations to be set on high so that nothing of lower vibrational frequency can get in my auric field and wreak havoc or mess with me. And you can actually do that anytime throughout the day if you're feeling unsafe or if you're feeling like you want to keep your energy close to you. You just set your vibrational, and just ask the divine, please set my vibrations on high. And it blocks out a lot of stuff. It's like a shield, you know? So I always do that before I journey. And when I pre-recorded the drumming just now at the rim of the volcano, that's exactly what I did. So for the journey, the coordinates I want everyone to go to when you listen to the drums and you journey with me is, I want you to imagine or reimagine yourself in a place of nature that's meaningful. Now, if you're like me and you live in an amazing, beautiful place, or if you can get to a place that's meaningful to you, please, by all means, go there and listen to this drumming track. But if you can't, just imagine in your mind's eye. Because when you imagine and you vision in your mind's eye this place, you remember yourself there, it's real. Like it becomes real again, right? So once you settle into that place and you're listening to the drum, I want you to know that you're divinely protected, your vibration's on high, And I want you to, if you already have guides that you work with, call them in. And then when they get there, put out the call for a helping, guiding, guardian spirit. Okay? Now, when you put out the call for that, sometimes things show up. Power, animals, different spirits, and they don't say anything. So what I usually do is I ask, hey, are you here to offer me power, protection, and support? And if I get a resounding no frequency or no, like no vibrational answer whatsoever, I'll ask that being to take me to the guide that's offering me power, protection, and support. Because sometimes we have these pretty amazing high vibrational guides that send other beings to help bring them souls. You know, they're busy, can I say? So also be aware that transpersonal beings of any kind sometimes don't, a lot of times don't speak in language. Sometimes they speak in light language, or sometimes they do speak like the King's English, you know, and sometimes they present themselves with images and language that you understand, but a lot of times they don't. A lot of times you'll get like a clairaudience, like you'll hear something through them. You'll maybe get like a vision of something. So it's like a vision inside a vision. It's really cool and trippy, but sometimes you'll get a feeling in your body, or you'll have like an emotional response. You'll just get a knowing. These are all ways that other beings, transpersonal beings, communicate with you. So just trust yourself. Like, don't worry that, oh, am I doing this right? Am I talking to myself? Because I mean, yeah, you are talking to yourself, but you're not talking to yourself. You know what I mean? Let's see what else. Yeah, I think that pretty much covers it. So when I was drumming at the rim of the volcano, I was cold. The drum was cold. I hope the sound wasn't too distorted. I'm going to listen to it later with my headphones in and see if it's journey work worthy enough. And if it's not, if it's like a little flat, I'll add some drumming over the top of it with the same drum, but once the skin of the hide of the drum's warm and it doesn't sound flat. So I'm not sure how it sounds yet, but either way, we'll have that same journey with that intention to meet a spirit guide, and that'll be our first journey together. So please feel free to leave positive comments or your experiences in the comment boxes, but please know that we do not ever interpret anyone else's journey for them. We can validate them. We could say, wow, that's amazing. Or we could say, wow, I had the similar experience, which happens a lot, which was one of the most amazing things when I started journeying with all these people from around the world over, the internet. Basically, we would do these journeys together, and people from all walks of life, we would see and go to very similar places, well, perceptions of places, right? So yeah, I am a high school teacher. So if I do see a comment that's not positive or that is not aligned with the Shamanic INNERstanding channel, I'm just going to block you. So know that. But I do block you with love, and I love all of you, and enjoy. Watch this as many times as you would like, and look for the next video. It's going to be soon, and I'm imagining now that I'll probably go into more of nature mysticism, what nature spirits are, the elementals, the different nature of realities. dimensions, that sort of thing. And then we'll work our way up to deity, mysticism, more the higher organizing intelligences. We'll talk about what happens in the bardo states, or what happens when we're transitioning from our bodies here back to our oversouls there. And we'll talk about here and there and all the things in between. So stay tuned. Love you. Bye.